Okay, I'm gonna just start. Please, slowly come in again. And yeah, we're gonna continue with my talk. Hi, I'm Annie. I'm gonna show you workflow in Blender and Substance Painter. We're gonna make a simple game asset, a crate, because apparently every game needs a crate. And of course, you can make all sorts of things in these two softwares, but we want something quick right now, so I was choosing this one. Like short show of hands, like who ever worked with Blender before? Okay, that's cool. And show of hands who worked with Substance Painter before? It's not something people. Okay. Yeah, what I want to start with, this is Blender, you open it up, and I remember still when I first opened up Blender, I was quite overwhelmed, like 15 years ago or so, because there's a lot of buttons you can click, but the thing is, yeah, you can do a lot of things in Blender, but with just some shortcuts, some hotkeys, you can already do the things that I'm doing 80% of the time. I feel like I'm using these kind of hotkeys over and over again, Blender is a tool that is very heavy on hotkeys. So I'm just going to show you some of them, which is, right now we are in edit mode. You can change that here to object mode again and create more simple geometry, but you can also switch with tab. Then there is, try to switch with tab right now. There's T for the toolbar in here, and N for the transform properties that you can use, which is very useful. The one I use the most when I'm modeling itself is E for extrude. You can use Alt E, and then you have several versions. This looks like this. You can extrude, and then you extrude and then normal. Sit. Is this one doing normal? Yes, it is. Okay. Yeah, the other very important ones are G, R, and S, which is G for grab. You can quit everything with escape again, S for scale, and R for rotate. You can also do G and then say, for example, I just want to move this on the x-axis. So you press X after you press G, and then you're just moving it on this axis. So, yeah, I'm going to just start. And for this, we are just going to do a simple crate. So we want to have all of these faces individually extruded. So you can press Alt E, like on the slide, and say extrude individual faces. So then press escape. So we have created the faces and are now going to, if you scale, you can say here what you want to scale. Right now you're scaling along the individual faces, so you're not changing the shape of it. And then, yeah, press E again if you are happy with that, or Alt E for extrude faces along normals, and then you're doing this thing, and then you already see the very familiar shape of a crate. Oh yeah, and you move around with basically Shift and the middle mouse button. You can basically do everything in the Blender. So what else are we gonna do? Next up, we're gonna add one more cube. Just move it here for now. Yeah, we're gonna add another plank in the middle of this. Won't really need this one, so you can delete faces just with X or with A is selecting everything. Everything in this case is this mesh because it's one mesh. Then rotate X to rotate Y to rotate along this axis. Let's say we want to do it a little bit smaller even. Something like this, rotate. And then you have another plank on this thing. I'm also going to now, in Blender you have multiple tabs here, so you can be in UV editing. You will be able to UV the whole thing, which is basically, yeah, giving you the UV coordinates then to be able to texture the 3D object. And we are going to do that first before we duplicate it, so we don't have to do it all over again all the time. Control E to put up this menu, mark seam, and then press A again, U for unwrap, and you have your basic UV here. What you can do now is Shift D to duplicate it several times, and then just make sure that the transform, the origin is at the center of the mass. That's not correct. Here again. Yeah, let's just move it this way. Yes. So you can here set the origin and then to 3D cursors. So now it's going to be in the center of the object. So now if you rotate, it will not be as much of a problem. Something like this. It doesn't have to be perfect right now. So let's say I'm just doing these two. Just for the sake of testing, you can imagine like doing it over again and just putting it onto the sides of the other sides of the crate should work. So next up, we are going to need UV for the whole crate. So we are going to set the seams here. This is just going to take a little bit. Yeah, you just have to like, UVing is like the most tedious of all of the things that you have to do in 3D. No one in his childhood says, oh, when I'm big, I want to do UV maps. But it's part of it. And so, so we're going to do that too. If you select and double click on one edge, then you select the whole edge loop. I'm not sure why it's not working right now, but yeah. Okay, Control E again, mark seam. Select everything, you unwrap. This looks something like this now. In this UV editor, you can also just have the same the same, like similar features to the 3D view that you can be in. And you can switch this on and off to toggle, like with this one selected, like you can see everything that is selected in the 3D view. With this one selected, you can select faces here and then see which faces you selected. So we're gonna cut these as well quickly. These already worked. And you can see here, Control E, Mark C, unwrap. Close. Control E, Mark C, unwrap. Yes, this is okay. Okay, this is, we're gonna keep it this way for now. We can make UV maps much more efficient, but I'm gonna try to open up Substance Painter as well, so
3 minutes left.
oh really? Shit.
Or 4.
So normally if you would be a good 3D artist now, you would put on a checkerboard and then see if all the checkers are like the same size. Since we just have 3 minutes, I'm just gonna skip that step right now. So Control J to combine all the objects. And yeah, if you then go to export, FBX in this case, let's put it
Skrivbord is desktop.
Oh, this is desktop, okay. Thank you very much. Great, export. So we're gonna now go to Substance Painter. So Substance Painter is a program that is helping you to texture your objects in a smart way. So you don't have to texture it by hand anymore. I've been spending a lot of time texturing things in Photoshop by hand, which is also a very cool way of doing it. Substance Painter is making it more easy for you to generate information based on the information of the mesh that you're putting in there. So change this, yes, to new, and this should be fine. So the first thing we are doing is some maps, and I'm just gonna go through this right here because yeah, it's a lot of technical things. It's like some trial and error. You can find out the right things. You can see here which of the maps it's going to be baking for you. And there's just some things here in the ambient occlusion. It's important to push the resolution up a little bit. Otherwise, there will be ugly artifacts. And I think this should be fine already. Then it's going through this process of making the maps for you. And these we can then use, all the information that's created in these maps, we can then use to make some textures. This is very, very similar to Photoshop here. You can add fill layers, and the way you work is basically add layers and layers on top of each other, and we're going to start with a base color. Yeah, here they are. Yeah, we're going to start with the base color and just use some kind of brownish yellow. Yeah, that works for now. You can put in here like which kind of channels do you actually need, do you actually want for your mesh. One other cool thing you can do is you have all the textures you have here. You can add another fill layer to put in the ambient occlusion once more, and then put this ambient occlusion on overlay. And you can see now if you turn it off and on, it already like pops out some more details, some more contrast. Yes, but the cool thing about Substance Painter is that it can work. Let's do something like something darker here, just for testing, and then you would add a black mask, and that black mask will then get a generator that then generates for you like which part of the mask is going to be white and which one is going to be black, like what part of this red color is going to show through, basically. And that's something that you can then work with all of these sliders. If you wanted to have, like, for example, like curvature, you can do that here. Curvature is basically, it's taking the maps, and it says where's the mesh convex and where is it concave, and then based on that, it's gonna show some of the information. What we're gonna do right now is just give it a small position gradient, yeah, like just inverse it this way, and yeah, you have like a small gradient that you can work with. Next, what do we want next? We want yeah, if you want to apply a different color to let's say whatever this, you can also say black mask, and then instead of generator you can also just paint in some detail, and then here you can say and select the faces that you want to paint it from this, and then you can just go and select all of these faces. Yes. So this is shown through. Is that? I don't remember. Yeah, you should also name your layers when you have more time, so you know what is what. But yeah, what also is really cool about Substance Painter, I'm just going to show you some things, is like smart materials and smart masks. You can play around with this a lot, and just there's a huge library already of smart masks. For example, you can say, I want dirt, this is dirt. Property, give it a dirty color, and then put on the, let's say, dirt ground onto this layer, and it will let's just do that again. I think still okay, so it's not out there. Oh well. Let's put this. Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're seeing it, but it's the color is not very fortunate. Yeah, there you go. So it's basically taking the ambient occlusion information and the curvature information to just generate some textures around it, and yeah, so you can more easily and faster create some textures. Yeah, this is the very basics of Substance Painter in Blender, but you can use some of this to create a very simple art style for your game jam game, I hope. And that's my work.